seen once before on Texas Championship Wrestling. A couple of very fine young wrestlers, and it's always a pleasure to have a match like this when you get to see a couple of guys who know their business and respect the business to the point where they obey the rules. And on the right you see Brian Adias. On the left it is Brian Blair, and I think you're probably going to see a pretty good wrestling exhibition. I know David Manning, the referee, who is a very fine amateur wrestler, one of the finest ever in the state of Texas, certainly enjoy refereeing a match like this. Right now it is Brian Adias with the side headlock on Blair. Both of these young men, as most of the young wrestlers today are, were very, very fine athletes in other sports. Both of them played football, both of them involved in track, and Brian Adias, a very good friend of Kerry Von Erich, and trained together in the discus. Kerry Von Erich, I think probably you know, would, had there been a Olympic team representing the United States in Moscow this past summer, Kerry Von Erich would have been on that team. Set all kinds of records in the discus, and out at the Von Erich home north of Dallas, they have quite a facility out there for training, and just about any time you go out there you'll see young men from the Lake Dallas and Denton area, the Dallas area out there working out in the discus and some of the field events. Oftentimes Brian Adias was out there when he was involved in that kind of thing. And so here we have a couple of fellows who don't know how much they know of each other, but obviously they know what they're doing as they have gone through a series of wrestling holds. We've seen more wrestling holds in the first minute of this match than we saw in the entire Mark Lewin Tim Brooks brawl. Brian Blair from Florida originally, by way of Oklahoma. Brian Adias is from Dallas area. He attended the University of Texas at Arlington. And right now it is Brian Blair working on the left arm of Brian Adias. Back up onto their feet. It's a wrist lock, standing wrist lock, which is taken down now onto the mat. David Manning checking, make sure everything is legal, and so far with these two, I'm sure it is. Of course, later coming up, depending on our time, we will have as much as we can of the World Heavyweight Championship match between the champion of the National Wrestling Alliance, Harley Race, and the challenger Bruiser Brody, and a lot of people have been waiting for this one. Blair continuing to work on the left arm and wrist of Brian Adias. And they go into the ropes, and that should be a break. And they didn't quite break off the ropes. It was a shoulder tackle by Blair. Over the top, Adias up, arm drag, and down goes Brian Blair into the arm bar by Brian Adias. So we have seen a number of good wrestling maneuvers. Of course, that was a body slam now by Adias. Down goes Blair. He's covered for the count of one, and that was all he's got, as Blair shaken a bit, but certainly still has enough reserve to get out of that. You're seeing a good mix now of the amateur style along with the professional. Of course, professional style includes things like the shoulder tackle off the ropes and things like that. And there's a hip toss by Brian Blair. And Blair decides to give Adias his own body slam, and down goes Adias. He's covered by Blair for the count of 1, 2, and out kicks Brian Adias. Side headlock now by Adias. Takes him down. Quick pin there by Blair, as Adias was almost caught. He got about a 2 count before he kicked back into the headlock.
Five minutes.
Very, very large crowd on hand at the Sportatorium tonight. A virtual sellout here. Fans anticipating the Bruiser Brody Harley race match, which will be coming up in just a little bit. Right now it is Adias and Blair locked up along the ropes. Off the ropes, here comes Adias over the top. He stops, gets Blair, picks him up in the body slam, and down he goes. And a good move by the youngster Brian Adias. And Brian Blair is shaken up. That's 2 body slams he has taken. He has delivered 1 to Brian Adias. And now they lock up. Down goes Mr. Adias, and Brian Blair has the upper hand. David Manning, the referee, who is watching things closely here. I think for Manning, as I mentioned before, this is probably kind of a pleasure because he gets to watch 2 men do what he does very well, or at least one time did very well. David Manning knows most of this kind of action, and a clean break off the ropes. And isn't that nice to see for a change? Actually playing the game the way you're supposed to. And they lock up in a side headlock taken by Adias now. Couple of good-looking young athletes out there in the center of the ring as Adias holds on with the headlock. Brian Blair trying to kick out of it. And they go into the ropes. Off the ropes comes Blair. He stops, or rather Adias, he stops, but this time he's picked up and he's slammed down onto the canvas. And a big elbow smash now by Brian Blair as he tries to cover the youngster. 1, 2, and that's all he got. And Brian Adias' back is hurting him now as Brian Blair goes to work. Of course, regardless of what kind of style they use, it gets rough out there. As you saw Brian Blair with the elbow smash. Both men have received a couple of body slams. And they want to win. Certainly, you know, this is not a game for gentlemen out there. This is a sport for some rugged competitors, and they want to win. They make more money, obviously, if they win the match, and that's what it's all about. That's why it is professional wrestling. Right now, it is Brian Adias with some forearm smashes trying to break that hold. And he broke it there, and Brian Blair moving back as he is staggered a bit. As things are getting a little bit rugged in the center of that ring. Another forearm smash, this time from the left hand, or left arm rather, of Brian Adias. But he is, now what is this now we got? Oh, down goes Blair. He is covered. 1, 2, and that's all he's got before he kicks out, and off goes Adias. Big splash, and that is missed by Brian Adias as Blair rolls out from under him. Well, there you go with the count of 3 as they locked up, and finally it was taken by Brian Blair.
The winner in 8 minutes, 47 seconds.
Just under 9 minutes. The winner was Brian Blair over Brian Adias, and we'll be back with the world's champion in just a moment.